Hello, welcome back to the next battle video, and today we'll be doing my round 20 NRL predictions. So let's begin. Okay, so the first game is between the Dolphins and the Cowboys. It looks like it'll be a really good game between two sides who at points in the season they've been at their best and points they've been their worst. Especially with the Dolphins at the start of the season, and they've come good, and then back to being bad. It's kind of not a repeat for them, as the Cowboys were pretty decent at the start of the season, going downhill, and they had a decent performance against the Bulldogs last week, so they're looking like they might start bouncing back a bit. I am going with the Cowboys though to get a shock win at Suncorp Stadium. No specific reason. I think Dearden will really help carry the Cowboys there. So I'm saying more than 12 for the Cowboys. Obviously the Dolphins coming off a loss against the Sharks last week. Next game is the Sharks versus the Roosters. The Roosters coming off a good win against the Dragons last week in an epic, really close match, as the Sharks coming off a dominant win over the Dolphins. Honestly, I'm going with the Sharks after their good performance against the Dolphins last week, which I didn't expect that to happen. I think they'll be able to beat the Roosters. The Roosters at times look good, but then there's also times like more recently when they lost to the Tigers, where they're not at their very best. So I think at Shark Park, it will be the Sharks who will win, but less than 12 in another crazy close game. Okay, so the next game is the Panthers and the Rabbitohs. I believe this was a grand final not long a few years ago. But yeah, I feel like the Rabbitohs have a big possibility to cause an upset. The squad they've got, it looks like they could do something special. But I am going with the safer option, which is Penrith. They come off a win against the Eels. They're looking pretty decent so far this season. It's a safer option going with them. I'm saying less than 12, but the Rabbitohs can definitely give a fight. The next game is probably the most expected game to know the result for, is the Raiders versus the Parramatta Eels. The Eels are the team that I support. Obviously, I always like tipping the Eels, but sometimes I can't, especially with this Raiders game. Obviously, last time we played the Raiders back here up in Darwin, we got destroyed. I think they scored like 50 points or something. With all the chaotic stuff going on right now, with like Dylan Brown, the Eels saying he could leave to the Knights early. He's saying he didn't want to go to the Knights. He's now getting dropped to the New South Wales Cup side. It's all really confusing. But I think Parramatta will make this a really close one. But I am going with the Raiders by less than 12. Then we got the Bulldogs and the Dragons now. So I'm obviously going just the Bulldogs here. Nope, not joking. Tricked you guys there. No, I'm going with the Dragons here. I feel like they have the opportunity to call it and what would be an upset, but with the recent performances of the Bulldogs, not really one. The Dragons have been looking good and they're pushing toward making that 8, and I think they might be able to get it, but they need a key win against the Bulldogs to get a proper chance in the 8, so I'm saying they'll win by more than 12. The next game is the Storm and Manly. All I can say is it will be Storm dominance, and they will win they'll score like 50 points over Manly. I have a feeling more than 12 to the Storm. It'll just be dominant Storm performance, and they're really pushing, and I think probably could be favourites to win the premiership this year. Okay, now we go on to the second final game, which is the Tigers and the Titans down here in Leichhardt Oval. Fun fact, Leichhardt Oval actually is probably maybe the second closest stadium for me. I was thinking about going to this game. I'm not going to, but it's going to be a one-sided one here. If we talk about fully instead of me going to games and stuff, let's talk about how these two teams are going. I think it's an obvious choice for the Tigers. The Titans just are not looking good, and I don't think they'll get another win for the rest of the season. But they could prove me wrong here, but I'm going with the Tigers less than 12. Then the final game, which is at McDonald Jones Stadium in Newcastle, is the Knights and the Warriors. As you guys know, I live in Sydney, and actually, because a few of my grandparents, they come over from England, and they're staying halfway between Sydney and like the Central Coast, where our other cousins live. So I've currently got a plan, actually, to go and meet them there, and then me and my granddad are driving to Newcastle to go watch this game. Tickets haven't been bought for us yet, but I doubt it'll be a sellout from what we've really seen with the stuff with the Knights recently. But yeah, anyway, I've stopped talking about that, so I probably will be going to this, and I'm hoping for a great game between the two sides, but I think it will be Warriors dominance by more than 12. with all this stuff going on with the Knights, I'm actually planning to make a video, which will probably come out tomorrow, all about the Knights. But it's not looking good so far. A lot of controversy, a lot of stuff's happening. They're going to be, probably a lot of players will be focused on that. Ponga even possibly leaving to join, play rugby union instead. It's chaotic, and I think the Warriors will capitalise on that. Dominance by the Wars by more than 12. Possibly could beat them by more than 50 here. But anyway, thank you all. That's all the games That's all the games for this round. The Broncos are the team with the bye. But leave your thoughts and what you guys think of my predictions and your predictions down below. I appreciate you guys being here and making it to the end. Goodbye, guys.